Hello. Welcome to the first in likely a series of videos about CAD, that is, computer-aided design. Each of the videos should be no more than 10 minutes, and ideally they'll be less than 5 each, because I want to make sure that they're in manageable bite-sized chunks for you. What are we going to cover in this series of videos? I'm not sure yet of the entirety of the scope, but we will certainly cover the basics of CAD within the context of Fusion360. What are we going to cover in this video? Getting comfortable with Fusion360, including navigation with both the UI, that is the user interface, and the design area, which is part of the UI. So let's start. This is Fusion360. There are many CAD programs like it, but this one is yours. I've saved you the time suck of watching me sign in, but know that it will actually not allow you to even get to the main user interface without signing in. Your version of Fusion may look slightly different to mine. That's totally fine. The same principles still apply, and when appropriate, I will mention how and where I've changed particular settings in mine. So let's go over the UI. We'll cover each section individually and briefly. In the center, and really the main portion of the screen here, is the design area, unsurprisingly. Mine has a layout grid viewable. Yours might not. If you would like to see the layout grid, you can do so by going down here and checking layout grid. You can also toggle it off if you don't want it there. This is where you'll be doing most of your design work. In the top left corner of the screen is a cube. That cube is the view cube, and you can use it to rotate the view of the design area around. So if you grab any of the parts of this cube and pull, you will see that it rotates, that is orbit control. It orbits the design area around. You can also single click on any of the faces, on any of the edges, on any of the corners, and it will also orbit the view to that particular spot. If you ever want to get back to the default view, all you have to do is hit this tiny little house icon here, which is home view. And that is where every single design will start you out in terms of view spot. You can also move around the view with the mouse. You can do this with a trackpad as well, but you're about to embark on a wonderful 3D CAD adventure, so I highly suggest that you get a mouse. Zoom control is very easy. It's just middle mouse scroll. By default, translate, that is pan controls, are middle mouse click and drag, and orbit controls are shift middle mouse click and drag. And again, if you ever get lost, you can hit that home icon right there and get back to where you were before. Take a little bit of time, muck around with this, make sure you get comfortable with moving the camera around, and then we'll restart back on this. Okay, here we go. You will notice that there are axes labeled on the view cube and on the layout grid. Yours may look different to mine. You can change those settings by going up to Preferences in the top right corner, clicking on your name, going to Preferences. Now there are a lot of settings within this window. We're just going to stick to the general, so don't panic, and only 2 of them within there. The default modeling orientation is usually Y up. Right out of the box, it's Y up. That is which axis comes out of the grid layout. I have changed mine to Z up because typically when I am doing modeling, I'm doing modeling for manufacturing, and almost all of the machines that I use for manufacturing are Z up machines. I've also changed my pan, zoom, orbit shortcuts to SolidWorks. That flips the pan and orbit controls. Because I do a lot more orbiting than panning, it removes a keyboard shortcut that I have to hold. All I have to do is hold the middle mouse button and rotate around. You can change yours if you feel that your workflow works better that way, or keep them if you feel your workflow works better that way. Let's now move to the top left corner of the screen. This is just a basic toolbar up here with obvious controls like new design and open and save and undo and redo. Directly underneath that is a design toolbar, which has probably less common controls on it. We're not going to use any of these right now because this is just to get an overview of what the UI of Fusion looks like, but we'll start the next video by using some of these tools. By default, you should be in the modeling workspace. You can tell because it says model here. Directly below that is the browser area, the project browser area for this particular project, and it houses all of the different parts within this particular project. Now there's pretty much nothing here, but as you start to create parts in your design, this list will begin to populate with parts. If you move all the way down to the bottom of the screen, you will notice some timeline controls. This also doesn't have very much in it right now. In fact, it has no objects in it right now. But as you perform actions such as creating a sketch, extruding an object, modifying a body, they will populate down here. And one of the most powerful features of parametric modeling programs, of which Fusion is one, is the ability to go back in time, modify part of your project, and have it propagate forward through time. Lastly here, if you look in the top left corner at this 3x3 grid of squares, this says Show Data Panel. It's not a very descriptive name, but what exists in here is effectively a projects browser. This is where all of your projects are stored. So you'll notice that I have several folders here. You probably have some sample projects. I have a bunch of folders. I have a folder called Experiments. If I go into this folder, you can see all of the goofy objects that I have in here. That is it for today. Hopefully you feel a little more comfortable at least looking at the Fusion360 UI and understanding where you are navigating around and moving the camera. Next time we'll actually start doing some modeling. Thank you for tuning in. Be kind to each other. See you soon.